Hello, Tom, aka Gédéon here from Tabletop Tap Room. And today in the tap room, I have the person I refer to as a good wife, my wife Tammy, my beautiful wife Tammy, who is my soulmate. And I'm very lucky to have this woman in my life. So I had invited you to come on the video with me today because you have some expertise. What is it that you have expertise in?
I'm an expert in special education.
And in particular, your first job out of college was?
Running a group home for boys. So it was a Boys Town program. Boys Town actually is town in Nebraska. And then I went on to teach, and I took all that expertise that I learned from Boys Town. I actually spent more hours training through Boys Town than I did earning my college degree. Like when you add it all up hour for hour.
That's your master's degree.
No, my regular bachelor's degree.
Oh, okay.
Spent more hours getting trained through Boys Town, and their training is intense. Anyway, spent 5 years at a group home for boys. So really got to know that age group, which was more like, 12, 13 and up. And then spent my career teaching and took all that behavior knowledge. Have a bachelor's in English. Thought I was going to teach English and Shakespeare and drama, and didn't get to really do that because my calling was special education and lots of natural patience and understanding of kids who had come from a traumatic background, disadvantaged background, or actually had mental health issues, or both. So that's where all my expertise is at. And when I went in to do teaching, I went into special education, teaching kids with behavior and emotional issues. So,
well, part of the reason why I invited you on the show today was I wanted to discuss this range of behavior that we're seeing from this individual we call Justin LaNasa, who goes by some sock puppet accounts on Twitter, allegedly not Mario, but also Mario 77, and then Mario Real at Mario 77 is back. We're certain to 99.99% degree that Mario Real is Justin LaNasa, and that Mario 77, we have evidence that was Justin LaNasa as well. So
can I just say
what?
If it's not, I would be super surprised, because back in the day before they texted each other, students now text and more handwritten notes, teachers would get really skilled on being able to tell if you're forging, or being able to tell if you're, signed your name differently, but we know that's you, because kids make the same spelling errors no matter what handwriting they're using.
So his thumbprint
is
on his Twitter account.
That's a good way to say that. Yes.
Okay.
So I recognize
in your expert opinion, as a teacher, not Mario is Justin LaNasa.
Yes. It appears so. I would be shocked if it was not.
So we are actually on the other screen looking at a sample of him here. And so this is the most recent response to the video that we did in response to him saying nasty things, which I could bring that up.
Oh, let's not.
Let's not. Oh, okay.
So
concerning. Because there was a comment. But calling our daughter a half-breed.
Yeah.
And so he's doubling down on it here. Everyone has special needs. Well, no, everyone does not have special needs. Do you want to say something about that?
Not everybody has a need for special education. That's for a very small population, under 30%, more like 20% of our school population.
Oh, I didn't. Who knew? That's why I have experts on.
Right.
So stop using it as an excuse for your bad DNA, loser. Keep it up. You will see what a SUTE. I'm not sure that's an English word.
He's trying to say you will see what a suit is all about. Like he's going to sue you.
Well, he's going to buy me a suit?
No, I think not.
I have plenty of suits.
Yeah, you do. No, he's going to sue you, because that's his go-to threat every time is, I'm going to sue you. He's going to sue me. He's going to sue the Pope. He sues everybody.
Well, in your position as a teacher, have you seen this sort of thing where it's the same threat all the time?
Yes. Yeah, it's a bullying tactic to.
Oh, that's interesting. You say that's a bullying tactic.
Well, it is a bullying tactic. He does it a lot, where he responds to people and warns them he's going to sue them.
So all of these attacks that he makes towards people's children, whether, we could name several individuals, again, it's just more bullying.
Oh, it's disgusting. He would definitely be getting detention, if not more. Actually, this kind of bullying, he would be suspended. Oh, yeah. That's like targeted stuff like this is not tolerated.
And then I love this little bit at the bottom here. LaNasa is no racist. He would be successful at his $1 million realty business. Well, if he had $1 million realty business, wouldn't he be successful?
Yes. And I do think he dabbles in something. I've seen his houses and they're beautiful. And I think, from what I know, I think he has done well for himself. And if he started in the way that we think that he did in life, lots of us have grown up poor, disadvantaged. And I think he has suggested that he came from, meager means, and he has done well for himself. And I've been the first one to say,
well, you're telling tales out of school. I have a source who has revealed to me that he admitted to growing up poor and he would never go back to being poor, and he would screw with an F over anyone who got in his way of what he wanted to get out of life.
Yeah, that's not a bad attitude to have. I mean, you always want to do better for yourself.
Yeah, I think being willing to F people over.
Well, yeah.
To get what you want.
Yeah. That's part of what's wrong here. Is this whole thing stems from attacking and alienating a community of fans that could have been his best ally, and now he's making enemies out of people. And you're not my enemy. I feel bad somewhat for how this whole thing is going, and I think a lot of people would have wished him well, but not the way that he's attacking so many people now.
Well, you have more sympathy for people like him. I think your position working in the group home, working with the troubled kids, probably positions you there. I don't have that much sympathy anymore.
I saw too many kids with this kind of profile where I don't know what his beginnings were at all. But I recognize this behavior, this immediate attack and name calling. It's usually what's behind that is there's fear there. And so we're gonna attack before we get attacked, and we're gonna bite harder and bigger to someone else because they fear that something about themselves is about to be exposed. I don't know. It's just typical bullying behavior.
So it's gross. Bullies at their heart are actually afraid.
Bullies at their heart are usually the most afraid. Yeah.
Is that why punching, just punching them in the nose first usually backs them down?
Well, punching who in the
bullies?
Who's punching bullies? Yeah.
I only ever had to punch one, and I didn't win the fight, but he knew I was going to fight back, so he stopped picking on me. So that was the end of that. Dad said, "Go punch him," go punch him.
Dad told you to? Oh my goodness.
Worked. So we can reframe all of this behavior that we see from Justin LaNasa through all of these sock puppet accounts on Twitter, all these attacks on people's children, on wives.
It's ridiculous. No one's going after his family. Nobody in this community is going to do that. I've seen his family. They're beautiful. Your family is beautiful, Justin. Your little kiddo is adorable. Your wife looks wonderful. It looks like you have all the makings to have a wonderful life, and your tattoo shop looks very successful, and you've had it for years. And so no judgment on my part. I don't particularly like your digs, the personal digs. I think that's just little kid behavior.
And Tammy's saying this is because she is a wizard at research and what color underwear you wore in 10th grade. Like she can find that stuff out. That level of, it's like scary. Like I know I'm never going to piss her off.
Okay. I get that in writing.
And, you know, I'm afraid to ever piss her off because I know what this woman can do. The level of detail that she's dug up on, you know, I'll be like, hey, would you mind checking out Dave Johnson next? And then it's the stuff she digs up is just amazing. So
I know a lot more than I'm saying.
Yeah.
Because I've done a lot of research, and I'm not going to stoop to any level.
Well, you supplied me with a lot of research.
Well, I did, but I'm trying to find out the why. Why these people do what they're doing? I don't understand it. It doesn't make any sense to me. Why alienate the community that you're trying to sell to? Yeah. Potentially, right? You want to make money, even if it was to make no money, right. But you love this community and want to be creative. Why would you alienate these people? That part I don't understand that part.
So, what is it that brings out this kind of behavior in an individual? From your position of working with kids who had a lot of problems, that acted in this way, reacted in this way, lashed out nonstop. What is it that you've seen in your role as a counselor, special ed director, you know, group home director, that might give us some enlightenment?
Usually when you see this kind of behavior where it's always, you know, negative over and over and not acceptable behavior by most people, it's usually learned somewhere along the way. It's learned, and or there's some source of trauma. You know, I had lots of kids whose parents, you know, had their own issues, substance abuse, were in prison. And so the kids grew up in a situation that was very unstable, didn't have a lot of good role models sometimes. And so those things can be unlearned. But of course, the older you get, the harder it is to break some habits. And I'm not suggesting that Justin came from, I don't know. I have no idea about his upbringing. I haven't done that dive to do some research. But if you're just saying, like, where does some of that behavior come from? Yeah, if you look at the population of people in jail, I guarantee you there's some research on their what we call ACEs. There's a whole program about
ACEs. What are ACEs?
ACEs. I would have to have it up to look at it. But there's this whole school of thought that if you have a certain number of markers, like you didn't have both parents growing up, somebody had substance abuse issues. And so you just keep counting up all these sort of markers of, then you're more than likely going to have a bigger struggle in school and then in life if you don't take a turn. And I would say, I think I've shared this with you before when I've shared with you about what ACEs are. And we could bring that up so you could actually show it on the screen. It'll show you what the ACEs are. But I grew up with a lot of them. Like when I learned this program, I was like, okay, that's me. Like I had so many reasons not to be successful. But I was successful because I had a lot of good neighbors, friends, church. I had a lot of good influences.
Adverse childhood experiences.
Yes. So there's a list. And if you count up, you know, there's a little thing that says, what your risk is at.
Risk and protective is, should I click here?
Fast facts, maybe. Go see what that was. So adverse childhood experiences, yeah, or potentially traumatic events that occur in childhood 0 to 17. For example, experiencing violence, abuse, or neglect. Bing. Witnessing violence in the home or community. Bing. Having a family member attempt or die by suicide. No, I didn't have that one. Substance abuse problems, mental health problems. Ding. Inability due to parental separation or household members being in jail or prison. No. So ACEs are linked to chronic health problems, mental illnesses, and substance abuse problems. ACEs are common. About 61% of adults surveyed across 25 states reported they'd experienced at least one type of ACE before age 18.
Right.
Yeah.
So I'd heard you mention that before when discussion about special ed stuff, because I believe that time you were the district special ed director for a school district.
Yes.
So these sorts of ACEs in somebody's life could lead to this kind of behavior that we're seeing.
Yeah, they're indicators. And again,
they're just indicators.
They're just indicators, because I had a ton of them and I turned out better than most in my ability to cope with all that life threw at me. So, but again, you go back to, we don't know. We don't know what causes this vicious behavior. We don't know. And you don't know what else someone else is experiencing. I mean, I think all these bigger events that are going on in our world, like with the school shooting recently, we don't know. I mean, that kid, the kid that did the shoot, I mean, they've already surmised like he was living with his grandparents, what was going on with his mother, the boyfriend had thrown him out. There's all these circumstances, and it doesn't excuse the poor choices that someone makes, obviously, because that event is still horrific to me. And I don't want to keep talking because I'll get choked up. But that young man is very much the kids that I worked with in the group home, very much the kids that I spent most of my career when I was actually teaching, because I went on to do and get into administration. But when I was working in the classroom, those were my students. The naughty boys were my jam. They just were. They were hard to love. They were prickly to hug, and I loved and hugged them.
Most of the teachers hated them.
They didn't hate them, but people had less tolerance because it's so easy to see the naughty behavior and not look past it. So like when someone lashes out and calls other people these vicious names, like the things that are being said about our daughter, those vicious things, that's the kind of thing that you don't know what's causing that from the other side. Why would he attack?
So we don't know what brokenness is there.
We don't know what brokenness is behind some of that. There's a saying that, hurting people hurt people.
Yeah. That seems pretty appropriate, actually.
Yeah. And so I don't know. I can only surmise. I look for reasons why these things are happening. And so I do tend to have a little more patience and sympathy about what might be going on for both Dave and Justin to be, again, saying and doing stuff that causes their fan base to be alienated away from them instead of gravitating toward them.
So let me just ask this question then, and I do not have any idea what your answer is going to be, but is there should there be any giving of a pass for this kind of behavior? Should we be giving a pass for
No. So I have worked with a lot of students of all ages with serious mental health issues and parents of these same kids, and it's a lot of poor decisions, but there are very few cases, I would say, that the issue that we're talking about would have not been able to be treatable. In fact, I can't really think of any that weren't treatable.
So what I hear you saying is there's no excuse for the behavior.
No.
But the behavior might be treatable.
Right. In school, when we take a look at, the behavior, and especially of kids in special ed, in my field, when they do things that break school policies and all that sort of thing, there's a lot of protection for them in special ed because they have a disability. But it doesn't make the behavior okay. So they don't get a pass. It doesn't mean that they can't be disciplined. It just means the discipline goes through an extra set of lenses to make sure it's not related directly to their disability. But no one ever says the behavior, the choices they made were okay, considering that they have this extra thing going on. And it's the same for people that don't have disabilities. Your behavior, you own it. And so all this stuff that he's spewing out there, the knee-jerk reaction is always, You know, if you poke me in the eye right now, I'm going to want to poke you in the eye back. That's just a regular, normal human reaction to want to lash out when you get lashed at. And I know, like, when we are sitting here in our privacy of our own home and I hear the things that are being said, I immediately verbally want to lash out because it's asinine and it evokes emotion, of course. And I'm always big about, like, well, if you really know me, you can say those personal things about me, but if you don't know me, then stop. Because there's plenty of things I could say, but I've never met him. I don't know him.
Well, there's an awful lot you could say because you've done the deep dive on his backgrounds.
True story. True story. It's true.
That's all right. You don't have to say them. I will.
This where insert maniacal laugh now. Oh my goodness.
No, the maniacal chuckle.
Yes.
Maniacal chuckle.
All right.
All right. So, yeah, we go with that. All right. Well, I think we've kind of exhausted the topic here today. So I do want to thank you for coming on.
I am the other half of Tabletop Tap Room. I just don't come on very well.
Yeah, I get to be the face.
No.
And you're the power behind the throne. So this is Tom and Tam from Tabletop Tap Room, and we're signing out, and we're going to say keep on gaming.
Gaming.